Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From mock drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Sicky Guns never fail. What's up, fantasy football fans? My name is JT Magnum. Welcome to week 8 of your Stardom Situm show. And unfortunately, there's no Sicky Guns again. And the reason why there's no Sicky Guns is not his fault. It's actually my fault, believe it or not. We actually recorded this show earlier, and then I went to edit the video for you guys, and there was no volume on his end. I actually accidentally forgot to record the volume. This is what happens when you rush, because he only has a certain amount of time to record, and so what happens is I put him on, I bring him in, I put him in my editing stuff, you know, that I used to record, and I forgot to put the volume because we were rushing, and this is what happens. So we only have so much time to record, guys. That's why we talk about only 3 players and then talk about just one. Like we mentioned 3 players, we talk about one. This is why we do things like that. So if you're new to the channel, this is why we do that. We don't always talk stats and everything like that. The reason is because we just don't have the time to talk about all that stuff in the short time that we have to record. So if you want stats, if you want questions like that, ask us why we pick a certain player. Just ask us in the comment section, and we'll try to answer it the best we can if we see it and things like that. Because like I said, we do have like 2 jobs, we have kids, we have things that we got to do, and we do this for a hobby, we do this for fun, we do this to help people out. We're not the best at it. We're not the you know, fantasy football gods. You know, we're just 2 guys having fun together, chilling, and doing fantasy football videos for you guys. So let's move on. The Stardom quarterbacks this week are Ryan Fitzpatrick, Carson Palmer, and Alex Smith. I'll talk about Carson Palmer. The reason I have him in there is because I think he's going to have a good game against this Carolina team. He struggled last year in the NFC Championship game, threw like 5 or 6 interceptions, I remember. If I remember correctly, he's only got 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions this year. He's been struggling this year as well, but I think he's going to have his coming out party against this Carolina secondary with a bunch of rookie cornerbacks, and on top of that, just playing bad. They have not been playing well. I don't care if they're coming off a bye week and they're saying that they're healthy. I think this game is going to be back and forth scoring. I think Arizona's going to come out on top in this one, and I think Arizona is going to be able to pass that ball up and down the field against this team. Running back starts. I have Matt Forte going against Cleveland, LeGarrette Blount against Buffalo, and Giovanni Bernard in London against the Redskins. And I'll talk about Giovanni Bernard. Jeremy Hill, I believe, might be out of this game. I'm not sure what happened to his shoulder or what happened to him. I know he went down hard in that game after running for like 160-something yards. But the Redskins are giving up 120 yards per game rushing, and with no Jeremy Hill, I think Giovanni Bernard finally have his good game against this Redskins defense, especially in London where it might be raining. You never know with that field conditions and things like that over there. The way the temperature and the way that it is in London is weird, and they might have to do the ground and pound game, and I think they're going to be able to run on the Redskins this week. Wide receivers, I have Devontae Adams, Doug Baldwin, and Will Fuller. And I'll talk about Doug Baldwin. Here's a guy who scored a lot of touchdowns last year, had over 1,000 yards, but this year's just not as much with Russell Wilson running for his life most of the time, and with that bad offensive line. But they're playing the Saints team in New Orleans in the Dome, giving up 287 yards per game passing, and they haven't been able to stop any wide receivers at all, period. And I just think that Doug Baldwin's going to have a good game. I also think Tyler Lockett's going to be a good play as well, but that's a different story for a different day. This week is the starts for Doug Baldwin, so I definitely like him against that Saints secondary. Tight ends, I have Kyle Rudolph, Julius Thomas, and Tyler Eifert. And I'll talk about Kyle Rudolph. Wasn't able to get off last week against the Eagles because the Eagles were just all over Sam Bradford, causing him to fumble all over the place. They were just teeing off on that Minnesota offensive line. I don't think Chicago can do that. They don't have that type of defense that's such, you know, penetrating and being able to rush the passer like that. So Bradford's going to be able to sit back a little bit. He's going to be able to go to his go-to guy, and that's been Rudolph. Rudolph has been a pretty solid target for Bradford. He's comfortable throwing to the tight ends. And I think he's going to look to get him involved in this game a lot faster. And he's going to get him some good quality red zone targets for Rudolph in the end zone. And for defenses, I have the New York Jets, New England Patriots, and the Dallas Cowboys. I'll talk about Dallas. The reason I have them on there, I actually like Philly and Dallas for defense this week. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair in Dallas. But the reason I have Dallas above Philly this week is for the reason why Philly's offensive line is not as good as Dallas's offensive line. I don't think Philly can protect Carson Wentz like Dallas can protect Dak Prescott. Dallas's offensive line is the best in football. Philly's is decent. They got some injuries on that offensive line. I think Dallas is going to be able to get to the quarterback, or they're going to be able to, at least get to him, at least make some good plays. And Dallas's defense has been pretty tough, and they've been pretty solid at home. So I like them at home, and I like. And this is the matchup against rookies, and given the fact, I think Carson Wentz is going to be the one that struggles in this one just because of Dallas's, like I said, Dallas's offensive line can be able to keep Dak Prescott open, and it's just going to be hard to stop Ezekiel Elliott running the ball, and that benefits Dak Prescott. So moving on to the sits of the week, I have, for quarterback sits, I have Blake Bortles, Marcus Mariota, and Carson Wentz. I already discussed why about Carson Wentz, so let's talk about Marcus Mariota. They're facing a Jacksonville team that is actually surprisingly number 6 against the pass, number 9 overall in total defense and yards allowed, and they've been playing pretty solid. Marcus Mariota's had a couple good games in the last, 3 weeks, and I don't see him having a good game against this Jacksonville defense. I actually don't see Blake Bortles having a good game. I think it's going to be a low-scoring affair in Tennessee, one of those, 13-10 type of games, 17-14 type of games. I don't see it being, or 16-14, things like that, 16-13. I just don't see it being an all-out scoring affair. I think you should sit both those quarterbacks this week because I don't think it's going to be that high scoring in Tennessee. Running backs, I have Isaiah Crowell, Bears running backs, and Mark Ingram, and I'll talk about the Bears running backs. We have Kadeem Carey and Jordan Howard, and I mentioned it in the waiver wire show, and unfortunately I said Mike Fox. I meant John Fox, sorry. Somebody correct me. Thank you for correcting me. Sometimes I just slip because I have so many things in my mind that I just say things, and that's what we do here. We make mistakes. We're not a nationally televised ESPN show or an NFL network. We make mistakes here, but we own up to them, and I did. It's not Mike Fox, it's John Fox, the coach of the Bears. But anyways, he doesn't like to use rookie running backs, so Jordan Howard kind of lost his carries to Kadeem Carey once Kadeem Carey is obviously healthy. And who will start, I don't know. Probably it's going to end up Kadeem Carey, being that he's the guy that John Fox liked before Howard. But against Minnesota, you don't want to start any of these two running backs. I don't care if you have either or. They're not going to run. Minnesota's defense is just so tough against the run. And despite Chicago really, really trying to run as hard as they can, I just don't see them getting a lot of yards. I think Jay Cutler is going to be having to sling it because they're going to be behind. And you know what happens when Jay Cutler slings it? It's going to be some picks and things like that. I think the Bears are going to struggle this week against Minnesota. It's just not worth really starting too many. I don't think it's worth starting anyone against the league's, one of the league's premier defenses this year, especially. But wide receivers, I have Tyrell Williams, Alshon Jeffrey, and Kelvin Benjamin. I'll talk about Jeffrey. I just touched up on the Minnesota defense. I just said Cutler's going to have a hard time facing Minnesota, and they're number 4 against the pass. You just can't throw the ball against Xavier Rhodes, against Trey Waynes, against their secondaries. Just people are struggling, and the way they blitz, the way Mike Zimmer has his defense playing, it's just impossible. Alshon Jeffrey's going to be a good play later on, because of Cutler being back and Cutler's, rapport with him, and it's going to be great to have him. Just not this week against Minnesota. It's just they're just too tough. And I don't care if it's in Chicago. Minnesota's going to have a field day against that Bears offense, and they're probably going to get there's going to be some defensive touchdowns in this game. It's got to be. Tight ends, Zach Ertz, Jason Witten, and Coby Fleener, and I'll talk about Fleener. Siggy was touching up on he thinks the Saints are going to be high scoring. I think the Saints could score some points against Seattle, but I don't see them scoring points with Coby Fleener. They've been doing it with Michael Thomas, Brandon Cooks, and Willie Snead. I don't see Coby Fleener involved in this offense, especially against the Seahawks, who do actually give up points to tight ends here and there because their secondary is so good. But it's just the coverage. They play that cover 3, that zone defense that's just so difficult to get past. And I think Drew Brees with that offensive line in Seattle's pass rush, I think they're just going to get to him a lot. They give Drew Brees fits they have in the past. Granted, that was in Seattle. I don't know how many times they've played him in New Orleans. But, I mean, I remember games where New Orleans had Jimmy Graham and they didn't even do that well against Seattle. So I just don't see Coby Fleener having a good game against this Seattle defense. Defenses, I have Green Bay, Buffalo, and Arizona, and I'll talk about the Bills. Revenge game. This is a revenge game for the New England Patriots. They want to beat the Bills so bad. If you remember, Bill Belichick threw his tablet, his Microsoft Surface tablet on the ground. He called it a piece of junk later on. He was angry. I think he was angry that the Bills beat him so bad. It was a 16-0 win in New England. Rex Ryan, I think he's mad because he lost to Rex Ryan. Didn't have Brady. Had a quarterback that was banged up in that game. But I'm telling you right now, with Brady back, the defense playing very well, going into Buffalo with a Buffalo team that might be minus LaShawn McCoy, who's nursing a very bad hamstring injury, minus wide receivers. I live near the Buffalo area in Rochester, New York. I heard on the radio, even coming home today, that they're bringing up practice squad players to play at wide receiver. This is the makings of a blowout in Buffalo, and New England might destroy them. I think Brady's mad. The Patriots are mad. Bill Belichick is mad. They're mad at the world. They think the world is against them. They are playing like that, playing angry, and Brady's thrown like 8 touchdowns, no interceptions in 3 games back. I mean, he's John Brady, and I think the Bills are going to struggle this week against that team. Unfortunately, being near here, and I hate to say that kind of stuff, and people that watch are like, oh no, don't say that, but I think Buffalo's going to struggle against that offense. I think New England and company is going to come in and blow them out. So that does it for the Stardom and Sit-'em show. Don't forget to leave your comments in the comment section. Obviously, I didn't mention a lot of players in here that you obviously think are starts. Feel free to ask me about those players in the comment section. That's what it's there for. Just, mention the player, say, hey, what about this guy? And I'll say, hey, I like him or I don't like him this week. Just mention those players, because a lot of people come on here, they hear like only 3 guys for each position. They're like, well, how come you don't mention the other guys? We don't mention the big boys here. I mean, it's obvious you start Aaron Rodgers against Atlanta. It's obvious that you start Matt Ryan against Green Bay. It's obvious you still start Drew Brees against Seattle, even though, because he's at home, and even though Seattle's defense is good, it's obvious that you start these guys. So I'm not going to talk about those guys. I try not to unless it's a sit, but at the same time, it's just obvious not to talk about those guys. So if you want to hear about those guys, go to Matthew Berry, go to all those other people that talk about that stuff. That's not what I do. I try to talk about other little players here and there that you might be on the fence about. But anyways, leave the comments in the comment section. Guys, you do a great job of answering each other's questions. It's awesome. I go in there. I try to answer the questions as much as I can. Like I said, I do have a couple jobs. Plus, I do a lot of things. I have church groups. I have all kinds of stuff that I do during the week, and of course, I have a daughter along with a child on the way. So it's I have a lot of things going on in my life. So it's hard for me to always just sit in front of a computer and answer all the questions I can, for you guys, because there's tons of comments, believe me. So you guys do a great job of helping each other out, and I appreciate all your guys' help, even if it's not the same. Even if I don't agree with it, I still appreciate what the help that everybody gives each other. And like I said, keep it friendly in the comment section. There's no need for animosity here. There's no need to put each other down. There's no need to put, our show down, things that we do down. Like I said, it's no use arguing about fantasy football, because I'm not 100% correct. You're not going to be 100% correct. And it's just no use. And also, the last thing, don't forget to join our DraftKings contest. I mean, it's $0, guys. I mean, as far as I know, there's been some pretty good contests here and there, but nobody's joining the $0 ones. I don't know if you're just not interested because there's no money involved, or are you interested when there's money involved? I can't figure it out, but join the $0. It's $0. I'll shout you out on the show for bragging rights. And then for all you guys that want to, say that you're better than me and better than Siggy and all that stuff, then it's your chance to say, there's your chance to beat us in something like that. So, and I think I've come out second. That's the best I've come out, or third or something like that. I haven't come out first in any of them yet. So, kudos to all you guys, man. You guys are awesome at DraftKings. I suck at it. I'm not the best at it. I've won money, but I'm not as good as some of you guys out there that play those DraftKings. I told you, man, I'm not the best at fantasy football. I mean, I've been fortunate to win some leagues. I've been fortunate to do really well with a good record, but I'm not the best at fantasy football. I don't claim to be, and I just like doing these videos for you guys because it's fun and it's informative, and I feel like I can help some people out with some of my picks for the weeks. All right? So with that being said, Guys, best of luck in your fantasy football week 8. And good luck, and stay tuned for the sleepers tomorrow, and on Thursday, the DraftKings. And I record those today as well. I record everything on Tuesday. I put everything out and have it scheduled to come out on Wednesdays and Thursdays usually. So that's how I work it. So if you see any injuries, I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry, but I do this. I record this on Tuesday, and NFL is horrible. They're horrible people. They don't ever tell you anything with injuries, and they wait till the last minute, so you never know. And they have this new questionable thing where you don't know what the player's playing or if they're probable, or you don't know anything anymore. So it's just torture. So guys, best of luck in week 8, and I'll see you next week. All right, peace, y'all.